Okay, we're rolling? Yes, the numbers are moving. All right, once again, you got here, Big Al Nolram, the bombastic and bodacious mouth of the South from Beauregard, Alabama, here to talk to you today about IT. You notice I got my IT hat on here, information technology. If you've seen the first one out there under Big Al's opinion on anything and everything, then you know about the different hats, and I wear a different one for each subject so that you understand which one. You can just look at the video and you know which one it is. Okay, so you got that down. Now we're here. You remember the other tracks? We got the Anything and Everything track, Information Technology, the NIPPOs, that's the New Independence Party, and the UGMMHL, the User's Guide and Maintenance Manual to Human Life. You go out there and check out those tracks if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to. All right, let's move on here. Today we're going to talk to you on IT about, some of y'all have these little networks at home, and you have these little wireless routers that you use to control them. Well, we're going to talk to you about wireless router security today. See if we can't train you up just a little bit on it if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to. One of the first things we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about the network name, we're going to talk about encryption, and we're going to talk about a MAC address filter. All right, you ready for it? Here we go. Hold on to your butts, because here we go. All right, the network name, some of them call it the SSID. I think that stands for System Security ID, but we're going to call it the Super Secret ID. That's what Al Nolram, that Big Al Nolram, he's going to call it the Super Secret ID, and you'll find out why in a little bit. Okay, first of all, you want to make that unique. You don't want to leave, you don't know how many times. See, I'm a computer network manager, and I drive around with my little laptop in the car, and I turn it on, and I see all of these things, Linksys, Belkin, all these default names that come in on these routers, and I know those folks ain't got no, and they'll say right next to it, unsecured network. So I know that everybody and his brother is tapping off your little signal there, and that may be why your internet is a little slow these days. And so I'm going to tell you how to prevent that and how to speed yourself up just a little bit if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to. All right, let's talk about first. You need to make it a unique name, something unique to you, something, you know, besides Linksys. I know one fella that I talked to recently. He said he named his network "Don't Be Cheap." You know, so that he let it broadcast out there so that when people got there, it says, "Don't be cheap." In other words, don't tap off my network. But that wasn't a good thing to do. The best thing to do is just not broadcast that thing at all. Not let anybody know that it's out there. It'll say unknown network. And that's what you want. Because then that is one of your methods of security that keeps your network secure. If they don't have your name, they don't have a toe in the door. If they don't know your network name, they do not have a toe in the door. So make it something that people will not realize that that's what it is. Okay, and now it's something you have to remember, because every time, if you don't broadcast it, then every time you try to set up a new device on it, you're going to have to tell that device the name of your network. It's going to say, what's the SSID? And you're going to put the name of your network in there, and that'll fix it right up for you. And we've already told you, don't broadcast it. Do not broadcast it, because that way they don't know what it is, and it makes it that much more difficult for them to get in. Okay, let's talk about the second thing, encryption. That's where they mix up the little bits. You know, they do a little bit fiddling on them and make those little bits change all around so that they don't mean hardly anything. It's just gibberish. Okay, that's encryption. Now, you always want to use the highest level of encryption that any of your devices can handle. Now, there's some of them out there that can only handle stuff like WEP, some of the older ones, WEP. That can be cracked in about 20 minutes by a good programmer. He can get through it in no time at all. The one you want to use is WPA2. That's the one you want to use if you can, if your devices will handle it. Some of the older ones only handle WPA1, but you want WPA2. And you want the highest level within WPA2, usually at least TKIP, and if not, that's TKIP, and if not that, then AES. AES is a higher level encryption even than that. And so if you get that, use the highest level, go to your little laptops or your printers or whatever you're attaching to your wireless network, find out what the lowest one is and make everything at least that high. Now, as your old devices die, then raise the level on your router to where it only handles whatever the next lowest device is. You understand how it works? Alrighty, let's move on. Now, once again, you usually have to encrypt, you have to set a password and it uses that in the encryption process. For WPA2, you set a password, and it needs to be a strong password. Now, we're going to teach you in the next little lesson about how to make a strong password. We ain't going to go into it here. Alrighty? Ain't got enough time. So we're going to talk about strong passwords in the next session of Big Al's opinion on information technology. That'll be number 3. This is number 2. That'll be number 3. Okay, so anyway, let's go in to the third area, MAC filtering. What is a MAC? Well, a MAC is a media access code, or a machine addressable code, whatever you want to call it. It's a hardware thing that whenever a network interface card or wireless card of any kind, the ones built into your computer, the ones you plug in on the USB port, whatever, every one of them has a MAC address. Now, sometimes it's called a MAC address. Sometimes it's called a physical address. Sometimes it's called a hardware address. You know, it can be called several things, but here's how you find it. It's going to be 6 pairs, that's 6 pairs of hexadecimal characters. Hexadecimal, that means 16. You know, in our decimal system, you can only count to 10. 0 through 9 is all you have. Well, they added a few more. They started out with letters, and they went A through F. That gave you 16. And so it's a base 16 number. It's called hexadecimal. 16. Hex means 6. Decimal means 10. 6 and 10 is 16. That's what it means. Hexadecimal 16. And sometimes those pairs are separated by spaces. Sometimes they're separated by colons. Sometimes they're separated by dashes. Whatever they're, sometimes they even all run together. It doesn't matter. But normally they're separated by something into 6 pairs of 2 characters. 0 through 9 or A through F. You got a G in there, you know that's not a MAC address right there. Okay. So anyway, also the first 6 of that MAC address is the manufacturer's ID. And so anytime you get one by a particular manufacturer, it's always going to have the same first 6 digits or 6 characters, or the first 3 groups of 2 are going to be the same. That'll tell you it's from the same manufacturer. And then the last 6, the last 3 pairs of 2s are the serial number of that manufacturer of that particular device. That way everything is unique, and every single thing out there has a completely unique MAC address. You know how it is about being unique. Some of you folks, you do tattoos or piercing to make yourselves unique, you know, and that's fine. That's the way you choose to make yourself unique. Everybody has their own way, and that's fine for us. Okay, now, why should you filter? Well, let me tell you this. We had this friend of ours that she would fire up her network and turn her router on and her computer, and all of a sudden she'd see this little fella, her neighbor, go back in his backyard and sit out on his lawn chair with his computer surfing his pornography. And she was wondering why he would always come out there in his backyard close to her house to surf his pornography. Well, it was because he was tapping off her router. You see, she didn't have it secured, and so he could just tap right in there and surf his pornography, and if he got a virus, you know, it got on her network, that didn't hurt him, no, never mind. So some of you folks out there, you know, if you happen to see a bunch of cars parking out your place, you know, and your internet speed slows down, it could be that they're out there tapping off your signal, your router. So you ought to think about that. And you put in this little thing called a MAC filter, and most good routers, you buy them at Walmart, Kmart, wherever, cheap routers, you know, you got different series, you got the G series, the N series, you know, all those different routers, they're different speeds, they cost a little more for the faster speed, you understand that. And you talk to those folks if you want to know. I ain't going to try to go into that here, I ain't got the time. But anyway, we tell you about this, and let me look at my notes here. Oh, yeah. And so if you see those cars and your internet slows down, you know what's going on. So you just go into your router, and in the wireless configuration, you should have a MAC filter or a MAC address list. And you just find the MAC address of all your things. So how do you find it? That's the next thing. Okay, on any computer, whether it be a laptop or a desktop or whatever, if you open up the command prompt, and I ain't going to tell you how to do that. You're going to have to figure out for yourself. You open up the command prompt and you type in this command, ipconfig/all. That's ipconfig/all. And that will give you a whole bunch of information about your PC. And one of the things is the physical address. That's the MAC address. And you take that number and you poke it into your MAC filter, and then that's the only thing going to be allowed to do it. And then if you got other things, other laptops, you go in and check those. If you got a printer, there's a way to print out a configuration page on your printer that'll tell you what the MAC address is. The other day on a MacBook, I got a MacBook Pro and an iPad, and if you use the little about this thing, about, you know what that is. That's like when you go into the help sometimes and it says at the bottom about, and you check that and it's the version date and a bunch of other stuff. Okay, well, if you go into the MacBook Pro or the iPad and you go into the settings and do the about, then one of the things it'll tell you is the MAC address. And you use that, poke it in. So anyway, that should about cover it. So next time we're going to talk about strong passwords. Remember we mentioned that we'd talk about strong passwords. The next time we'll talk about strong passwords. Teach you how to make them strong so that people can't break into them, and so that how you will be able to remember every single password you ever created in your whole life. I'm here to tell you, I'm going to do it. Come back next time. Bye-bye for now. Y'all take care of each other out there. Don't be doing too much fussing and feuding. Be kind to each other. And above it all, God bless America. Thank you. Bye-bye.